Welcome in, everybody, to another season of Quick Slant from the Daytona Beach News Journal. I'm Chris Vanell. I'm here alongside the expert, as always, Chris Boyle. And Chris Boyle literally just told me before we started this, he has the world's strongest urge right now just to say the words, "we're back." So I'm going to let him do it real quick. Go ahead.
We're so back. Let's do
We're
it. We are
so back.
so back right now.
We're so back. Welcome to the fall season, really. We get started with kickoff classics this upcoming Friday, and we've got a lot to talk about. So we'll dive into just some of the off-season stuff. Of course, you can follow along throughout the season on both our website and in print, and then along with us on social media. I'm at Chris A. Vanell on Twitter. Chris Boyle is at Chris Boyle DBNJ on Twitter, and we'll be keeping you updated throughout the season. So during the off-season, we had 6 coaching changes from last season in the Volusia-Flagler area. And a lot of them had local connections, or at least connections to the school they're coming to, right?
Yeah, I think you see the community ties was really important. Either a direct alma mater of the school in the case of, say, Lester Davis at Seabreeze, who took over for Pat Brown, or somebody who's been ingrained in either the community or the school itself. So Justin Roberts at University was their offensive coordinator and an assistant there for 9 years. Daniel Fish, who takes over at Flagler Palm Coast, has been living in Flagler Beach ever since moving back to the area. They're moving into the area after a career at Valdosta State. So, I think that has a lot to do with it. The trust within not only the community itself, but the football community within those cities, the Pop Warners, the youth football scene, knowing who the players are, knowing the families, knowing everyone kind of all the way up, and building that infrastructure. Matt Martin's another good example. Matt Martin is hired at Daytona. He's a grad at Daytona High. So you see that kind of common thread through a lot of these choices.
And it just kind of like gives some stability to the program, right? You hope that these guys not only come here and, look to take the better job next year. You're hoping that they're coming and staying for a couple of years, building a program, and as you said, kind of ingraining themselves in the community that a lot of these guys are already a part of. Let's go to some of the top players in the area. We had a bunch of recruits who, kept attracting offers, kept attracting attention throughout the offseason, and a lot of them come on just one unit.
Yeah, Mainland's defense has about a half dozen seniors that are going to be Power 5 or high Division 1 recruits. It's pretty remarkable. They added Rodney Hill, of course. He's the only player committed of that group. He's currently committed to Tulane. But you look at Isaiah Shine, who's a cornerback that blew up in the spring. Zay Mincy, one of the best players in the country at defensive back. LJ McCray, a top 100 national recruit at the defensive line. Ramon McCullough had a monster year for them last year, and he's got a bunch of teams in the FBS group of 5 range that have been interested in him, like Liberty and Appalachian State. I mean, that's a really loaded unit, and it's no secret as to why they believe they can get back to Fort Lauderdale and have another chance to win a state championship next year. And you look at some of the guys in the 25 class too that have really kind of emerged. Derry Norris at Spruce Creek had a really productive spring, had a handful of Power 5 offers. Colby Cronk, a defensive lineman at Flagler Palm Coast, coming back from a knee injury, I think is in for a big season there. Has great bloodlines. His sister was one of the best swimmers I've ever covered in Michaela Cronk. So that's a really athletic family there. So you see a lot of different players that have an opportunity, and even the players we haven't talked about yet. You're going to see a lot of kids from Volusia and Flagler have their opportunities to gain some offers and get on the radar over the course of the next few months.
This is just from my personal experience, but I was out at a spring game, New Smyrna Beach versus Daytona, and Armani Spurlock had like one of the best.
Oh yeah,
the guy scored like 3 touchdowns, had a couple of picks. So there's opportunities for these guys.
Spurlock got about 3 or 4 offers right after that game. So I mean, it all it takes is one performance and right in front of the right amount of people or just the right amount of film, and all of a sudden, bang, you've got an opportunity to play at the next level.
You talked about Mainland being, one of the great contenders from this area. Another one that we think will be really, really good is DeLand. They haven't attracted maybe the same sort of prospect attention yet, but they've got some dudes. Is there anyone that you feel like could be in line for some more college attention with a big year?
Yeah, if you ask Rick Darlington, he's puzzled as to why they haven't had their senior class, especially, gain offers like left, right, and center. I think TJ Moore as a dual threat quarterback is really special. I think he's a player that's going into his third year as the full time starter, can throw it deep, can run it. Was 1,000 yards both rushing and passing last year, and should be much more settled and comfortable in that offense. I think Javon Ross is an extremely explosive player on both sides of the ball. He'll play a lot of corner in addition to slot running back, slot receiver. And I think you look at MJ Smokes, another player on the defensive line, maybe a little shorter than ideal, but really powerful, really physical, a state wrestling placer as well. So I think those are the kind of players that most colleges should be at least keeping interest on and seeing how far DeLand goes this year, because I think they have an opportunity to really take advantage of that continuity from last year and keep progressing forward.
DeLand, along with many of the areas other teams are taking part in the kickoff classics coming up on Friday. We've got to wait 2 weeks before the regular season, but we do have these 12 kickoff classics. There's a couple that stand out, right? We talked about Mainland's team. They're at Matanzas, who they played in the kickoff classic last year, and it's the only game between two Volusia-Flagler teams. We have Spruce Creek at St. Augustine, which you said, quote, that should be fun. We've got West Orange at DeLand, just two powerhouses kind of going at it, or two teams that should be really solid. And then a 4-team jamboree, Merritt, Island, Vieira, Seabreeze, all at New Smyrna Beach. And it's really the only jamboree that we have in the area. Is there anything that stands out to you about those games, or any one in particular that, you're kind of most looking forward to?
I like Matanzas. I think they're kind of a dark horse team. I think their senior class is kind of built for this moment. They've got some talent on that squad. You look at Cole Hash, who's a do-it-all player for them, and was an all-area first-team selection for us last year. I think Daquan Evans coming back from injury is going to help. They've got Shamarian Gaines back. They've got Daniel DeFalco in there, a tight end. I think is a really nice player. Jordan Mills at cornerback has attracted a handful of FCS schools. I think this is going to be a pretty good team at the skill positions. For Matanzas, the problem's typically been the offensive line, just the depth there. So if they can find some guys that can open some holes. Now, of course, Mainland is not exactly the best indicator of success long term for how an offensive line unit will be, considering how good they are. But I think that team sets up nicely for me. Spruce Creek and St. Augustine, I think you're going to see a lot of I think St. Augustine is a real contender to get to the state finals. I think that offense is going to be explosive. We talked about them. We covered them last year a lot. Lachlan Hewlett, a quarterback. They've got pretty much all their receivers back. Bam Lyons, their running back, is a really good player, over 1,000 yards a year ago. So Creek's got its hands full there on the road. DeLand and West Orange. West Orange loses its Elite 11 quarterback in Trevor Jackson over the summer. That was a bit of a surprise that he went over to Jones. But they still have some really solid players on that team. Jordan Bridgewater is a player that has a handful of Division I offers. Ivan Taylor is the son of Ike Taylor, former Pittsburgh Steelers cornerback. He's one of the best DBs in the country for the junior class. And then you mentioned that 4-team jamboree too. I mean, I think it'll be a good opportunity to see what kind of progress Seabreeze has made, and I'd like to see if New Smyrna can capitalize on what was a very productive spring. Spurlock in particular, whether it's playing quarterback, whether it's sticking a DB, whether it's a little bit of everything. I think this is a good opportunity for him to keep that momentum going, and for the Cudas to maybe take the next step and try to contend in that district with some teams that have a higher overall population than them.
That's what all these teams are looking for this year, right? To take that next step. We didn't have any state champions last year, so they're all looking.
We got close.
But yeah, they're all looking to break through and see what they can do in the 2023 season. That'll do it for this edition of Quick Slant. Thanks again for tuning in, and as always, we'll see you, I think, next week, right? Very soon at least.
Every week, basically until December. I'm planning to be here, so get used to us.
So back.
So back.
Bye.